Hey guys, what's going on? It's Gatsu. Today I'm going to talk to you quick about what to do once you hit level 120 in Battle for Azeroth, and a couple of suggestions just for keeping up on everything. So let's hop right in, and first off is of course making sure you get through every single world quest that you can. The most important ones are going to be Champions of Azeroth, because you're going to get a neck upgrade of 15 item levels for every reputation tier you get with Magni and the Champions of Azeroth. When you go from neutral to friendly, you get 15, and it just keeps going the whole way up. It's going to be your biggest power boost, of course, because the neck has so many stats on it. So it's definitely one of the most important reps. Now, along with that, there is also, of course, your 7th Legion rep, if you're Alliance, or Honorbound if you're Horde. That's just going to make sure that you get your war campaign done, and you can't do the opposite side's mythic only dungeon until you've reached the end of the war campaign. So super important, especially if you're planning on running mythic pluses, because I'm sure a lot of people are. And without doing that, of course, you're going to miss out on potentially those keys, which would be terrible, especially early on if you just had a dead key for your entire group. That would suck. Now, along with that, though, Mythic dungeons, or Mythic Plus dungeons rather, don't open until September 4th, which is the release of both the normal and heroic version of Uldir, the start of the PvP season, as well as start of Mythic Plus and all that. So, whenever Mythic Pluses come out, we'll have about 3 weeks of time to gear up, and that brings us to our next point. Every week, you're going to want to make sure you get through as many of the regular Mythic dungeons as you can. There's been a lot of incredibly good gear coming out of those for me. I just ran a couple yesterday, and our Ret Paladin was fortunate enough to get multiple pairs of 355 Titan Forge pants. He had been spending the past couple of days basically screaming about only getting helmets out of Heroics. So at least now he's getting, the item level cap pants out of Mythic. I mean, it could be worse. He did get his best in slot stats, so he's pretty happy. He also got a 350 weapon, I believe, which is equivalent to a, 2.5, 3 million gold weapon on the auction house right now, so, definitely worth doing. Definitely worth getting into those mythics. Now, we were in there doing them at roughly 320 item level for most of us. Our Demon Hunter was 311, and our Resto Druid, I believe, was 315, 316, somewhere around there. So there were a couple of pulls in a few of the mythics we did where it was a little tougher than we expected, but we did get through. I mean, thankfully there's no timer, so we could use, whatever CC we needed. We could take mobs individually if we needed to, because we didn't have either, enough cleanses for things in Underrot, or, enough CC for certain humanoids or something, which will definitely help you in Mythic Plus. Makes us see what we're probably going to have to CC those first couple of fortified weeks. Now, another thing you should definitely be keeping an eye on, of course, is your professions. There's some really good profession gear out there. There's 355 loot you can get from most professions that craft armor. However, there's also something that's really, really amazing if you happen to be an engineer. The engineering goggles you can make this expansion, they do require you to get the whole way up to engineering level 125, which is a huge ask right away, because Monolite Ore and Storm Silver are very, very expensive and prohibitive right now. However, if you can get up and craft those goggles, the Azerite traits on them are crazy good. It's also a 340 piece of Azerite gear, with, as far as I can tell for Warlocks, the best in slot tier 2 traits for every situation. So since I'm playing Warlock here, I'm definitely going to be crafting those. I'm working my way up there. I think I'm about 75 engineering right now. I finally got past that initial wave of I'm just going to keep crafting fire bombs. But, thankfully I've gotten past that. So now it's just more farming to get up there and make them again. Another reason you want to be doing those mythics as well is because there's a specific crafting mat called a Hydrocore. Hydrocores only drop from the end of Mythic Zero bosses or from Mythic Pluses, as far as I know. However, they are 100% BOP. They're very similar to how Chaotic Orbs and Primal Nethers were in previous expansions, those type of items. So definitely something you'll want to make sure you get some of if you need to craft gear, because you'll need quite a few. Another thing, of course, to do is not to, just vendor the gear you have. The scrapper is incredibly important. The best part about the scrapper is you can get all sorts of crafting materials. So if you end up picking up, say, a bunch of weapons or, quite a few pieces of, like, plate armor, that'll get you ore if you're an engineer that doesn't have mining, like my warlock, for instance. And I'm leveling up another character so I can mine, because obviously it's not going to work too well if I don't have mining somewhere. But the scrapper is a really valuable tool, especially early on with the ridiculous expense of most crafting materials. It's also a really good way to make some extra gold if you don't need those materials. Now, added on here, there are a few other little things you can do. Whenever I said about doing world quests and trying to get every single one done you can, I was not kidding. There is a lot of loot out there that is really, really good. There's some trinkets from world quests that, as far as Sims are showing, are incredibly strong. The Dynabone Charm from Zandalar, it can be on pretty much any world quest out there from any of the elites, that trinket is by far one of the best in slot trinkets for pretty much every spellcaster. There's a couple other ones that give you a very big boost to haste, or a very big boost to primary stat with a proc for haste or a proc for mastery. Very, very powerful trinkets. Be sure you're getting as much gear as you can from world quests. Along with, doing those, be sure you have a contract from Inscription. The contracts will get you extra reputation whenever you go and you complete any world quest. I'm currently using the one for Champions of Azeroth because that is the probably most important rep, as I said earlier. Now, these can be quite expensive, so hopefully you have a guildie that has the opportunity to make those. I think it takes about 75 inscription to craft the contracts. However, they persist through death. They don't appear to have any sort of timer. I used one on, I believe it was Tuesday, about midday or so, and as of time of recording here, it's Saturday at midday. It's still there, still working, and as far as I know, it doesn't go away at all. So, great item. It says 10 rep per world quest you complete with that faction. If you're a human, it's 11, so woohoo, that extra 10%. But every little bit helps, and getting just a little bit extra adds up very quickly when you're doing every single world quest out there. On a final note, if you have time sitting in dungeon queues and you're not sure what to do because you've finished world quests, fishing is going to be incredibly good, especially just for making your own food, but also because there's quite a few things you can fish up that are really valuable. There's, I believe, 2 mounts. There's quite a few other things as well. So in your downtime, definitely start fishing in Kultiris. There's a lot of really cool stuff. Lastly, the one thing you must do weekly, super, super important, is to go through and get through your island expeditions. Island expeditions are 3-man scenarios similar to how you did in Pandaria. You get introduced to one during your war campaign, where Flynn takes you out to an island if you're Alliance, or I don't know who the Horde version is because I haven't played Horde at all. But whenever you're out there on these wonderful island expeditions, you're going to, one, get some great Azerite out of it, as well as there's a chance for you to get some very unique looking gear out of it. There's about, I think it's like 38 or so different pets you can get. There's a bunch of mounts, all sorts of cool stuff. But there's a weekly quest that gives you a very large amount of Azerite. I think it's like 2,500 Azerite for going through and completing everything with Island Expeditions for the week. Now, it's a weekly quest, but you don't actually get it on your quest log. It's just kind of there at that table for your Island Expeditions, so be sure you check into that, after you unlock that at 120. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for checking in with me here. I hope to have some dungeon videos up here this week as everybody else reaches 120. I was a little bit ahead of where I wanted to be. So I didn't really have a healer for the first couple of days. But it all works out in the end. So if you liked the video, be sure you liked it. If you didn't, dislike it. Toss me a sub if you haven't so you can see whenever new videos come up. Hope to see you on the next live stream here on Monday. Should be a blast. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.